Update. I'm not going to talk this side, I'm going to talk that side, since I know it. So I passed out Lawrence, then I went to SRCC, I was in avian army for a bit, and then I moved into F&B for 5.5 years. Then I was with the Indian Badminton League, with the Mumbai Masters, I was the CEO, and then I consulted for the Kerala Blasters in '97. So that's a brief, but today we're going to talk about F&B, what you should and shouldn't do, and whether you should be in it. So I got into an F&B startup called Surya Elixirs back in 2008. What started as one sports bar and one nightclub, it was just supposed to be that, ended up becoming 45 outlets in 5 years. So we initially never thought we'd expand or even venture out into any other brands. We started with one outlet thinking that, actually the reason why it started was one of the founders decided to walk into a bar and he didn't get entry because he was wearing shorts and he was wearing chappals and he was with a bunch of men. And as it goes, without couple entry, you don't get entry into most bars and nightclubs. So we decided that, you know what, let me just open a bar where anyone and everybody can enter and whatever they like. So it just so happened coincidentally that your IPL happened in India, and the day we launched Xtreme, the entire Deccan Chargers team landed up at Xtreme Sports Bar. In that very gung-ho moment, we decided, yes, we're going to open Xtreme in all IPL cities. And at the same time, we launched a nightclub as well, XS. But what we didn't realize in our enthusiasm was we just kept multiplying like bunnies, but we never stopped to streamline process or do anything. So eventually we ended up shutting down about 5 outlets in a span of 2 years. So we'd opened 12 and we were left with 7. One actually went away in a fire. So that's what we did with Xtreme. And then while we were with Xtreme, we faced a bunch of challenges. Right? For example, in AP, the license fee to open a bar is 32 lakhs. In Kerala, it's 22 lakhs. In Bombay, it's 5. In Delhi, it's about 1.5 to 3. In everything, it just keeps differing from state to state. So every time you have to renew a license in a city like Hyderabad, it's exorbitant amount of money that comes up. And over and above that, in places like Bangalore, you don't get issued new licenses. You have to buy from existing inventory, so it sits on your books like an asset. And every year, it just keeps appreciating. This is an appreciating asset. So that was one. So by the time 2 years happened, we had about 7 outlets. Every year, we would end up shelling out about 2 crores in cash by the time July came. So we were completely cash strapped. So that was one. That was our biggest learning. And another learning was because it was the sports bar industry, we had to actually pay license fee every time we showed any live sport. So every time IPL used to happen, we had to pay a lakh per outlet for those 45 days just to show IPL. So that was one. And then we had to pay license fees every year to other channels like 10 Sports and ESPN and all the other new things that used to come up. Every time something new used to come up and the IPRs and PPL used to land up on our doorstep and say, hello, please give us some money. And we'd be like, okay. So that used to happen. And then also we realized with Xtreme that we only made money when there was sports or when it was nighttime. We were completely losing out on the daytime scenario. Like we had no lunch crowd, we had no one coming in the day. So we came out with another outlet or a brand called Heartcup Coffee. We basically created a coffee shop that serves alcohol. So basically we captured the daytime, the evening, the afternoon, the night, everything. So we kind of ended up making revenue all day round. And we started showing movies on Sundays. So we kind of did something like a supper theater only with movies. So we aired like a classic movie. You guys would pay like $1,500 and then you would get booze and food on the house while the movie's going on, after which you have to continue paying. So, and then we did stuff like supper theater. We had drama inside the coffee shops. We had artist showcasings and everything. So we kind of ended up learning something from the Xtreme scenario, converted it into another brand, and decided that, you know, fine, we're going to make money all day round, all the time that we work. That was HCC. Then we decided we wanted to become like a known F&B chain. So we decided we want to master franchise an international brand. So we got Quiznos, which was an epic failure. So we got it in, we opened about 8 outlets and we got muscled out of the industry by Subway, very loyally. So what happened was that every time you order, say, dough or any of your raw material, you have to have MOQs. And most of the vendors were already tied up with Subway. So every time we would order anything, we would have to end up picking up some 250 kilos of something, and we didn't have those many outlets to cater to, so everything would go to waste, and we would just end up, going all over the place. And then by the time all that was going on, the vendors also got sick of us because payments got delayed, because the franchisees were not willing to kind of, move forward with more material because they were already stuck with enough inventory. So by the end of it, Baker Circle and everyone said, okay, bye, you're not going to handle this now. So Quiznos just died a very bad death in a year and a half. Then we got another brand called -4, which was an ice cream brand. I'm sure you guys must have seen Creamstone around. So this is something on the same lines. But we decided we won't penetrate the urban areas, we wanted to go into tier 2. So in about a year, we launched about 10 of those across cities like Vijayawada, Vizag, and Rajahmundry, and all those places in AP. Basically all the places that are supremely hot. We went over there and we launched them. This particular brand is actually very easy on the pocket, so we decided to just franchise it. So you could actually have an outlet in about 8 lakhs, including equipment and everything. And your, advanced rents and everything, especially because you're opening it in tier 2. So the capital intensiveness is very little, and you pretty much make your money back in about 8 months. So it was very successful in terms of the franchisee route. Then we opened another company called Sun Catering while all this was happening. And in fact, we had bid for the ISB catering thing for Boyles, but then we got the bid, but we backed out of it because we didn't think we would be able to make that much money here. So that was one. So we catered to corporates and all of that. And yeah, so I left the company in about 2013 and then moved into IVF. But since this is a food thing, we're going to stick with food. While I was doing all of that, I was also an active member in Hyderabad. I was a member since 2011. I just got elected onto the board this year. Interesting fact, I've invested in 3 startups from myself. So that is one. And I'm sure there's only a lot of, there's going to be an ISB Connect that's going to happen here, I think this year, right? Around October it happens. So at that time, Hyderabad Angels comes on board along with Ty, and we end up putting in a pool of money. And the top 3 business plans, irrespective of whether we would invest in them otherwise, get that pool of money from us. So that's just how it works. The Hyderabad Angel funding for ISB Connect. So if you guys have any questions, now is the time.
So your challenges you faced when starting?
Starting?
The challenges you faced?
In which? Definitely.
Yeah.
Talking to my construction workers. That was the biggest challenge. But no, the biggest challenge was actually the licensing. So we didn't realize how many licenses we needed to get. So by the time we got into it, we were very excited that, yay, we're opening an outlet. But every time we would open, we would realize there was something new that we had to get. I don't know if it was legal or if it was what the cops wanted. So to open an outlet, you need 5 licenses. You need a fire license, you need a traffic license for your parking, you need a liquor license, obviously. You need a food health safety license, and there's one more which I'm forgetting. And over and above that, you have, if you're airing any sports and stuff like that, you pay your channels. Then you pay PPL. If you put on any music, you have to pay PPL. If you have a DJ or even just play any CD, you'll have to pay PPL, the public performance license. And then the government version of that is IPRs. You have to pay them as well. And for any big event that you do, like New Year's or some big party that you want, if you have posters out in the market, they show up on your doorstep again and say, hello, please pay up. So we didn't anticipate that. So by the end of it, our P&L was just showing X amount of fixed costs. It doubled by the time we ended.
When you say they show up, who showed up?
Excise, cops, IPRs, PPL, transport, setmats. How do they find out? Because we're on Facebook.
Okay.
Social media.
So that's how they track all these
Yes.
devices?
They track everything. Those guys, basically, we are their bread and butter, right? Basically, they have to fleece off us in order to make money. So they will land up at your doorstep even before you realize that they're there. So they just show up. They actually disrupt your parties, by the way, if you don't pay up. They're that bad.
Where did you get your initial funding? Was it your own money?
No, it was actually, I wasn't the founder. Arjun Valluri, basically he's someone who, have you heard of IntelliGroup?
Yeah.
So he was the founder of Intelli Group. Actually, one of the youngest CEOs to launch on the Nasdaq. He was 28 when he launched his IPO. So he basically, this was his retirement business. So my mum worked for him earlier, and he knew me since I was a baby. So he said, why don't you come on board and open a sports bar? So that's how it happened. It was me, him, and Peter. So it was his money, and then he got a credit line from a bank.
In Mumbai, don't you have to wait for about 6 months before you can start serving liquor?
So that depends. So basically, if you have an existing outlet and you transfer the outlet, like you transfer your brand into that company, you don't have to wait. So basically, when I pick up your outlet, I pick up the license as well. So I own the company that you have.
Right.
So then I can run operations. If I'm starting from scratch
Right.
and I apply for my license, there is a process, not 6 months, it's 3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
So basically you were just like, you were buying existing cafes or...
So Bombay, the one that we opened, we bought the existing one. In fact, are you from Bombay?
I am.
Okay, so you've been to Xtreme then?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you been to Xtreme Sports Bar in Bombay?
No, I haven't.
You probably won't have, it died in silence. Anyway, so it was opposite Residency Hotel. I'm sure you must have heard of this place called On Toes. So 11 different brands kept changing their name over there. So that particular outlet, they would just keep selling their company to the next person or leasing the company. So that's just how it works. So, but the rest of the places like Hyderabad, for example, you don't have to really wait. There is just a particular time period that you get your license. So you renew your license in July and you pick up your license again in July. And that's pretty much in most places that give you new licenses. And whereas Bangalore, you actually have to buy off an inventory pool that already exists. So if you're opening on Cunningham Road, your license will probably cost you 1.2 crores. But if you're opening on Kormanga or something, it'll be 1 crore. I mean, that was 3 years ago, I don't know what it is now.
Actually, so that I think is the biggest challenge in Bombay because, you know, that 3 months it's difficult to afford that 3 months.
So basically then you have to be smart about it, right? You take your outlet, you plan your construction in such a way that by the time you apply it's ready, and then when it's ready the license kicks in.
But from what I know, it usually takes more than 3 months. Like, I know it from somebody who...
So if you're starting from scratch in terms of like, you know, laying down the cement and stuff like that, yes, it takes a lot of time. But that itself on its own for the person to pay that rent while he's doing that is going to be exorbitant. So if the outlet is ready and then you have to wait 3 months, yes, that is absolutely the worst thing that can happen.
And is it easy or is it even allowed to have a microbrewing license in Hyderabad?
In Hyderabad, no, you're not allowed. Actually, we microbrewery, you're not allowed. So we actually ventured into that scenario like about 3 years ago. They were going to open up 5 licenses, and it was going to cost about 5 crores. So everyone sits for it.
So 5 crore per license.
That's what they said back then.
Okay.
So they might again open up that thing because AP actually takes a lot from the Karnataka excise in terms of you know, their expertise and stuff, and Karnataka takes off from us as well. So the microbrewery is something that has been in play for a really long time, but just somehow never settled. The only place that somehow emulates a microbrewery here is MOB, but it's not really a microbrewery.
it's
You
not.
just get the kegs
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
just serve.
You said that you had problems utilizing your space
Yeah.
for Xtreme during the day.
Yeah.
So how does Heartcup coffee work? Does it use the same premises?
So no, so Heartcup coffee actually is a completely different brand. So the premise of Heartcup coffee is you can do everything. So it is actually a coffee shop which serves liquor. So basically you pretty much have the breakfast crowd, the coffee crowd, people who want to meet, you know, for meeting and stuff like that. So you have all kinds of age groups, everyone coming. You find little kids like, you know, in Heartcup with their parents and stuff because the food is really good. And then post 7 o'clock in the evening, it just becomes this crazy place where, you know, you have like people who just show up from work.
Excuse me, aren't there also rules like, you know, you have to have like a clear demarcation between the area where you serve food, the kitchen and stuff like that, like the rules
Sorry,
for the licenses?
I didn't get to know.
Like, from what I know, you know, there are rules for the licenses, like, you know, you have to have like a clear demarcation between the area where you serve food, and it has to be like a minimum of 300 square feet and things like that.
It can be, so in India it's overlooked quite a bit. I mean, it's not really that, I've never seen it. So in Hyderabad, basically, as long as there's no wall between you and another place, every place around that can serve liquor. So that's just how it works. And if you want, you can serve liquor in your kitchen also. No one can stop you because that entire property is, your license is on the entire property. So you can serve anywhere. The minute you step off the property, you're in trouble. But inside the property, you can drink anywhere. They can't really stop you. But I think what you're talking about is for children, the smoking and the non-smoking areas.
Not that. So I was actually planning on applying for a license when I was looking at the various things that you have to meet, the conditions that you have to meet to apply for a
Yeah,
license.
they kind of like all that, but they don't really.
Yeah, you can. Okay.
Can you talk about how did you go about developing teams? Like, I'm sure you must have started a little bit leaner, and then
So
at what points you...
actually, we didn't really have a team for 3 years. It was just 3 people. So we just, management-wise, we didn't have a team. Obviously, outlet level, we had our staff and managers and all of that. I think we were terrible at delegating. So we never really expanded for 3 years, work-wise at hiring people. Year 3, by then we had 6 brands and we knew we had no choice. So we started hiring them. So I think I had about 10 people under me by the end of it. But most of the people that I hired were execution people. Nobody was someone who was thinking about how to run things. So I didn't actually really, now that you ask me, I didn't really put that much thought into how I hired them. I just hired.
While you were doing so well in all the ventures you started,
I wasn't doing very well, clearly.
whatever, but you must have had good experience, good fun. What made you join MBA school? Because now the
Offline. We'll take it offline.
So what are your plans after MBA? What are you planning to do?
Me, actually, I haven't decided. So I thought actually to answer your question. I joined an MBA because I thought maybe I want to get back into corporate. Maybe. So that was the only reason why I wanted to get back into school. And also somewhere down the line I felt my learning had stagnated. Like I just wasn't going like with F&B, it was just like we were opening one brand, we were opening another outlet, it was just like we were doing the same thing at a more rapid pace and just going, so the learning had stopped. So it was just, like...
How did you deal with the losses?
So we learned and we kept improving and now it's doing very well. So 45 outlets, Heartcup coffee makes an average of 50 lakhs a month.
You're still involved in that?
I have a bit of stake in that still. So, but no longer actively involved at all. But yeah. So we learned as we went along. And the best part...
Did you have a motivation to keep going?
To keep going, yes, we all hated
How
failing.
did you...
We all hated failing. We all hated the fact that something went wrong, we just need to get it back up and keep it moving. And the thing was, none of us were from F&B. One was from tech, I was from banking, and one was from somewhere else. So we had no clue what we were getting into, but then by the time we got into it, so we didn't think too much about it. All we knew was we just wanted to keep growing, and that's what we just kept doing. But every time something failed, we didn't really think that much about it. Yes, the money would hit us pretty bad, but we had a credit line that saved us. But at the end of it, now year 5, extremely profitable. In fact, a lot of interest from PE funds to fund the venture. So that's one good thing about the last 5 years that happened.
And have you guys done anything special to retain your workforce? Like preparing
actually, we have a lot of attrition.
There's
a lot of attrition. So the only place that doesn't really have that much attrition is Heartcup because it does exceptionally well. So the service charge component is really high. So the salaries they get, the service charge component probably is much higher than salary. So they, in fact, within the company, a lot of people want to be moved to the brands that are doing better because they make more tips than service charge.
Right.
On what basis you were opening your outlets? It is very much specific to Hyderabad.
Actually, no. We opened Hyderabad, Bangalore, Bombay, and Kolkata. So we actually wanted to be a national brand, and Gurgaon and Bombay we shut down. But now, currently, the outlets are in Chandigarh, Hyderabad there are 4, Bangalore there are 7, Vizag has 1, Chandigarh has 1, MP has 1. So it just multiplied across now.
How is the performance in Hyderabad and Bangalore?
Bangalore is exceptional. I think Bangalore as a city is very welcoming to the entire bar culture. So I think the city per se just does it. I don't think we did anything special there. It's just the city's like that. Hyderabad, we struggled a lot initially. But now it's settled into a bit of a, break even, make profits during season time and all that. But we know this, that we have to have these outlets open because it is the brand. These outlets have to be in these places.
What about
So, isn't it like, how do you manage the logistics? Like, Chandigarh is that far off and just having one store and like spreading
So
out so much over like.
logistics for the bar is really nothing.
Like the management, do you have to keep visiting all those stores, and in terms of your expenses,
So
managing?
normally when we open in other cities, we actually find a local partner. So it's always like a revenue share of 50-50 or a franchise. So we always have local presence. We never get into another city that we're not in without someone local. It doesn't make sense. We learned that lesson with Bombay and Delhi.
And so your contract with that person is, how does the contract work?
So it's so there's 3 ways you can do it. One is we run the operations for the franchisee. So that's like, so we take 30% or 20% of the revenue. Or the person takes the franchise from us, he pays a royalty of 10%, and we give them the entire know-how. We are there from start to finish in the setup of the outlet and everything. We train the staff, all of that. Plus we take 10% revenues every month. And there's a franchise fee that they have to pay us for 10 years. So like for 5 years, and then you pay 30% of that on the 5th year, gets you in for another 5 years. And then you can have a revenue, you can have a JV, like they put 50% of capital, we put 50%, so just break half. So those are the different models that we work on in the franchise thing.
So in the franchise model, you take a royalty and the investment is entirely for the franchise?
Yeah, the investment is entirely the other person's. If it's 50-50, then obviously 50 we put in, 50 they put in. And if it's an operational model that where we're running the ops for the person because he just does not want to be involved, then we take about 20 to 25% of the revenue.
So on the 50-50, how do you manage the execution? Because since you now are an equal partner.
So no matter what, the execution is always done by us. Always. Because nobody knows the brand as well as we do. So we go in, so we give them a budget. We say this is how much you need to spend and this is the marketing collateral we need to put out. In fact, we don't even ask them to market. The pre-marketing and post-marketing for a launch is done by our in-house team. So there's a team that goes 10 days prior to a launch and does everything.
I think we can.
Thanks, Dave.
Right.